This next piece is almost as experimental. It's a new piece to the ensemble. In fact, this will only be the second performance in the world of this piece of music. The first was given last week at the University of North Texas. The composer is Dr. Joseph Klein, who's a brilliant music theorist and a brilliant composer. His bio is literally as long as your arm, all the different orchestras and new music ensembles and soloists that have performed his music. And in fact, our chairman, Dr. Glendenning, has been familiar with Dr. Klein's music for quite some time and encouraged us to explore this. Our percussion faculty, who by the way, our percussion professor Greg Beyer deserves a huge thank you for helping simply arrange the instruments for the Schwantner. And I know personally he invested something like 6 or 7 hours outside of rehearsal time with the students. So huge thank you to the students, huge thank you to our colleagues, the director of the School of Music. All that to say, this piece also requires just a little bit of explanation. Unfortunately, Dr. Klein and his wife Heidi experienced a horrible tragedy. Their 23-year-old son, Gabriel, committed suicide. And so this piece was a reaction to that. He's trying to capture his grief. So, number one, that will explain some of the dissonance and the angst in the music. Also, anybody familiar with Morse code, military, or Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts? Yes, several. Okay, if you listen closely, you will hear that his son's full name spelled out in Morse code. It's Gabriel Paul Klein. And in fact, the names of the family are contained in Morse code. So there's a moment where Dr. Klein described it as, Gabriel, who struggled with mental illness all of his life. If you can remember the Greek myth of Sisyphus, who's always pushing the rock uphill and it would roll down, you'll actually hear that in the middle of the bass voices. And we've added William to our string bass section. Thank you so much for joining us. You'll hear a wealth of low reed sounds and low string sounds start this eighth note pattern that goes up and then falls back down and up and falls back down. And just when you think it's going to get farther, it falls back down. Interspersed with that are these Morse code interjections of Gabriel's name that start loud and then get increasingly loud. Percussion interjections throughout all of that. And even his wife's name is contained in the music. You'll hear these amazingly high notes. In fact, it's the note D, if you think about music notation. In fact, Dr. Klein explains it this way. You hear a lot of high Ds, high D. The wife's name is Heidi. So you'll hear her name brought out in music by some just beautifully high woodwind sounds and muted piccolo trumpet, all manner of things that are just really, really interesting. This piece also has some improvisatory elements. So there are moments where the students, instead of a time signature, it just says X or 3X. Okay, 3 events in this moment. So it's been really interesting learning this music. I am incredibly proud of our students for bringing this thing to life. Again, I hope Dr. Klein is watching, and I hope he's equally pleased with this, only the second performance of his piece for band, Against the Gusts. And you can read more about that in your program notes. Here we go.